Hey guys, everything new under the sun. Well, we're looking at slow motion from the Olympus TG-5. So on the left we have the 120 frames per second. On the right we have the 240. Coming up, I've also compared the 120 frames per second to the 480. So at the 120 frames per second, that's 1080p. At the 240, that is only at 720p, so you're losing some resolution. And at the 480, you're only at 640 by 330 or something like that. So losing, you can see the image gets bigger, and also the images get darker. Now I increase the contrast here so you can see it. You can see a real difference between the 120 FPS and the 480. And this is just water dripping into a sink, basically pouring into a sink. I think it's interesting to use that as an example because it kind of shows you that the difference is here. There's probably better ways you can do it. Here again is the 480 at the full width. What I'm going to do is, in the next clip, we're going to go into looking at the screen settings and how to actually select these settings, how to set them up. And so we'll move into that now. Alright, so we're looking at the camera. This is a TG-5, of course, Olympus TG-5. And I showed you a number of slow-mo videos, and I just want to go through the video settings here because it was a little difficult for me when I first received this to figure out, where are the submenus, where are the options for the different slow-mos, 120 frames per second, the 240, and the 480. So what we did was, on the slider here, we'll go over to the movie mode, and now it gives us the ability to shoot in various types. So you can select the regular video mode, and this is the 120 frames per second option. You can select the 4K, and this is of course the 4K option. One thing that you should know is if you want to get into these options, you press the OK button, and that pulls it up. And now you can go through the different options here. So movie image stabilization on, that's the MIS, and you got face detection option, and you got the autofocus modes, etc. But what you can do is here, you can go to the 4K, like the video section here. This is where you'd have options to actually switch that. So let me go back here and go to the high speed. So we go to the high speed mode here, click OK. Now what we can do is we can click OK again, and now we can select the high speed mode we want. So you see at the bottom, full HD 120 frames per second, 240 frames per second, and then the standard definition, so this is not 1080, this is 720, I believe it is, at 480 frames per second. So outside of those, if you click up and down, you can also select your image size, your ratios. You're locked to 16:9 for this. You can switch your autofocus, your white balance, etc. But that's how you do it. And again, when I first got this was a little bit confusing to me how you actually did that. So you get there by pressing the OK button in the middle of the wheel there, and that pulls up all the options on the side which you can then switch. So you go to the 120, and then you press record button in the top right button, and it's recording in 120 frames per second. You can then go and switch to 240 frames per second. Click the record button. Now we're doing 240 frames per second. And click the OK, and you can again select the SD, 640 by 360. You can see the resolution there. Actually, I wasn't 720. 720 is the 240 frames per second. So depending on your video quality. Now the clips you saw beforehand, which I explained, were kind of side-by-side views of all those various things. I did increase the contrast on them. But I wanted to show you that because, again, for me to figure out how to find these, it was a little, even after kind of reviewing the manual, it was a little hard to find. I was kind of clicking the outside edges of the wheel here to get to the various options. If you click the left button on the wheel, you get to your regular movie options there. And if you're in any other mode, like auto, for example, it's just going to, and you press record, it's just going to go ahead and record at whatever your preset is. So my preset happens to be full HD, so that's 1080 at 25p or 25 frames per second. So in any other mode, it's going to start, you can press the record and record a video, but it's not going to allow you to select into the slow-mo and all these sorts of things. You got to be on the video mode for that, at least so far as I know. So I thought I would show that to you. let's go in here. Again, I'll show you if we press OK on the full HD option. You can see the quality options we have down here. This has nothing to do with slow-mo, but now we can select full HD 50 frames per second. So full HD is a 1080p basically, 25, or the regular HD 720 in 25 frames per second. I have some settings configured for the movies here on setup, which I won't go over, but I just wanted to show you that to you because, again, when I first got this, I couldn't really figure out how to get to these options here, how to change them, because I was pressing the left, right, and up and down on the keypad here. But the key is obviously to press the OK button, and that brings those up. So then you can get into all that. So just thought I would show that to you. Now this clip here is at 120 frames per second. It's not in focus, I get it, but you can at least see the speed. I'm dropping some coloring into water. The next clip, it's going to be a little bit darker because of the faster frames, but it is the 240 at 720p, and this is the yellow stuff going in. So you can, again, not perfectly in focus at all, unfortunately, but at least you can see the speed at which it goes in. The next clip is the 480. It's even darker, and it's lower resolution. The 480 by 330 or no 640 by 330 or whatever the resolution is at the top left corner. You can see the blue food coloring come in. The last clip here was just kind of some of the audio here and what I used to use it. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys in the next video.